Going on. So this is the content that I live for, and this is more exciting to me than them posting Harley Quinn talents and all of the update things for 24.1. Just so you guys know, I wanted to because I'm in the Discord. I wanted to start with this. So whenever they do a post, like a major post about the next update, like a 24.0, 24.1, what they'll usually do is they'll make this announcement post, and then they'll say, like, units with visual updates, and then the long-awaited talents for Harley Quinn, and Tesla gets a rework, and improvements to the early stage of the game. And inevitably, everybody will ask, when does the update come out? And as a general rule, the update is imminent when they've talked about all of these different things. So, visual updates, Harley Quinn talents, Tesla, and then improvements to the early stage of the game. They'll do that over the course of the next coming days in separate posts. So here they talk about Blessing. That's obviously just a filler day. This one they talked about the remaining 2 slots. Like, what should you add? This is obviously a filler thing. And then they talked about the visuals. So that's one of the things that they were going to talk about. And then they talked about Tesla talents. And so the next couple of things that we need are them talking about making an official post about Harley Quinn talents, and then talking about the what are they changing for the beginning part of the game. But until they talk about both of those things, the update's not coming soon. So I believe it's supposed to be next week, because there's not a lot of things for them to post and talk about. But even in saying that it's next week, something could happen, and that is also subject to change. It could be the following week. So for everybody that just keeps always asking, every single time they release a new like update, like because eventually they're gonna do like, these are Harley Quinn talents, and they'll be like, when's the update? Just so that you know, that is a good indicator for when they're actually going to drop the update. If they have talked about everything, then it's probably soon. But with that being said, this is my favorite thing, and I know that a lot of people were obviously more excited about Harley Quinn talents, because then that's one step closer to the actual update. This is my favorite kind of content to make on my channel. I love talking about this game. I love theory crafting about this game, more than I like playing this game, and I love whenever they do these random FAQ questions. And I never know where they get these answers, or if they just pick random answers from anywhere. They have different social media platforms, and they are constantly getting bombarded with questions from everywhere on every post in Facebook, Reddit, Discord, everything, right? X. And so they decided to talk about things pertaining to questions that they get a lot. One of them, I know, is the Boreas question. They get Boreas questions literally every single update. Every single post that they ever make, the Boreas rework that they talked about, like, they mentioned a rework a very long time ago, that they're gonna just, like, revamp its entire talent kit and everything. They talked about that, because they talked about it, because they said that it was gonna get a rework at some point. People have been bringing it up every single post ever since. So, that was just context into, you know, like, how often does a question need to be asked in order for it to be addressed in this random FAQ? Probably a lot. Or maybe it's just some things that they just want to talk about, which would be good as well. So we're going to deep dive into this, because I have thoughts about, I have a lot of thoughts about each of these things. Maybe not so much of one thing or so much of another. So, will new floors be added to Dungeons co-op mode? I've questioned this for a while. I've questioned this for a while because dungeon co-op is currently just kind of a joke to me. I love that they made the waves fewer. That's going to speed up your the time that you have to dedicate to doing 5 gold maps a day or 5 maps a day. But Dungeon in its current state is basically just a joke. The idea that dungeon is supposed to be a cooperative experience, you're supposed to want to have another partner that shamans you, or that supports you, that gives you witches, that gives you clock so that you can have better attack speed, that gives you amulet of weakness and hunter's jacket so you can have better attack speed. The fact that at some point in this game, you needed a co-op partner, and maybe some of you still do. But what I'm saying is, because they haven't changed the difficulty of co-op in any kind of drastic fashion, every single time they introduce a unit, you're getting crit percentage, and you're getting that, which in turn means that you're gaining additional damage. If Dungeons was a cooperative experience, you should be struggling even if you have a max unit. And we have not been struggling with max units for a very long time. You shouldn't be able, if it's a cooperative experience, you're supposed to struggle even if you have a max unit. And if somebody is shamaning you and giving you like good, accurate support, that's when you should beat the hardest thing. You shouldn't be able to solo everything with basically any one of your max units. But every single time they add a unit to the game, they are adding crit percentage, at which point the more and more, the damage that you can do is more and more and more. And so Dungeons is basically just a joke to me. I can basically solo dungeons myself. It's not even a cooperative experience. The other person doesn't have the ability to do nothing, and I feel like that is a detriment to what dungeons could be. In Update 24.0, we have reduced the number of waves for higher floors, added new modifiers, and kept the rewards. You started visiting the dungeons more often, and according to statistics, you've been obtaining significantly more gold, and we are very happy about that. It's all a good change. Making it shorter is one of the best changes. But at this point, we've decided to take a break for now. If new floors are added, they should be a real challenge for you, with rewards to match. So we are more likely to think about adding difficulty levels rather than just about +1 floor, but this is definitely not planned in the next version either way. So it's good to know that they understand that it needs to be more difficult. When we're going to get this, who knows? I know a lot of people campaign for co-op. For infinite dungeons, for them to bring back infinite dungeons again, and I don't see the actual reward in that. I think that just having a difficult mode, like, for instance, what if your first boss was a triple boss? How could you deal with that by yourself? Maybe you could, but it would be incredibly difficult because it's so early in the game that having, like, triple bedlam is really difficult. And then what if it was like quad bosses and then 5 bosses and then 6 bosses, right? And it was still 25, but it was just harder earlier. So then the fact that you would need to set up as quick as you could, have somebody shaman you just to be able to get through that first boss and then, the second boss and the third boss, right? I feel like just that alone would make this more interesting. You don't need to add infinite co-op, and if you want to play infinite co-op and try out your infinite deck, that's called PvP. Like, if you have a deck that's so good that you want to do, like, infinite co-op, just play PvP and beat everybody. Like, that is what infinite co-op is. It's getting to 500 billion damage, 500 trillion, quadrillion damage in PvP and beating everybody. Because if that's how much damage you could do, that's potentially how much damage you could do in a co-op dungeon floor. But with that being said, I like that they're thinking about it. I like that if this does eventually get implemented, I think that that's a really cool change. Making it a little bit more difficult for slightly better rewards. I hope that at some point they change the rewards from just being gold. Because when you get to that upper echelon of maxing out your commons, rares, and epics, you basically don't use gold anymore. I don't play dungeons for gold. I play it to get rid of my token storage. And that's pretty much all I use it for. I have, like, in the area of 2 million gold that I can't use fast enough. There is not enough in this game, for me to buy, in order for me to use up my gold. And if any of you are listening and you're like, but I need gold, yeah. And max out your commons, rares, and epics, because that is the gold crunch. And once you do that, you'll start realizing that you too will never need gold ever again. So I do hope that if they do add a different difficulty levels, that they don't just increase the gold cap, and that they add other kinds of rewards, like maybe like one random what's it called, faction core. Like even one faction core would be something that I don't get now because I'm getting nothing out of it other than using my token storage. But anyway. Will Trapper receive talents? So for anybody asking this question, whenever they release a thing saying like, oh, Harley Quinn and Tesla are getting talents, the number one response to that post is, yeah, but is Stasis gonna get talents? When is Archer gonna get talents? When is Fire Mage gonna get talents? Right? Everything is going to get talents. That is their plan. Their plan, stop asking this question. It's about as annoying as like people saying, should I buy this legendary in the shop? Like to me, every single time, every single update that they decide to give you talents for this unit, whatever unit you're supposed to be excited for, people are never excited about that. They're always excited about, yeah, but when is Sentry going to get talents? Yeah, but when is Lightning Mage going to get talents? Yeah, but when is, like Thrower going to get talents? Like things that like just don't even matter. They're more excited about what doesn't have talents than what does have talents. Will Trapper receive talents? Sure he will, eventually. Write your ideas in the comments. Who knows? Maybe one of them will be the beginning of something new, a unit or game mechanic. Will there be changes to Boreas? So this is the aforementioned thing that I said in every single post ever since they said that Boreas was going to get a rework. This has been a comment in every single comment section, everywhere, every post. None are planned. Boreas is one of the oldest units that the player receives among the first legendaries. He's a good mentor for players in the early arenas, but fighting at high ranking requires players to grow, learn more combinations and mechanics. From our side, there will be more game features such as the experiments that will help you with this. I don't know what they mean by the experiments. I don't know if they're thinking about like the Magic Lab where you can like trade out your Boreases or something, or if they just mean like experimenting with different units. One of the things that I've always said that is completely true. If there was a very good unit very early on, I would start a new account and never upgrade because like Frost is the first thing that you get. It's the first legendary that's unlocked. If that was a good unit, if that was a strong DPS unit, I would restart a game and never go past that arena and just buy legendaries because every legendary that you bought would be that legendary. Like if they put like an Inquisitor as your first legendary, I would restart a game and max out a level 15 legendary in Arena 1 or whatever arena that is. I think what they're saying is that Boreas is a new unit and it's not good and it's purposely not good, which is a weird stance to take when they've been upgrading all of these other mechanics in the game. They've upgraded like throwing Engineer a bone, right? And giving the 30% fast recharge 50% attack speed. I feel like they have a possibility of doing a rework and it still being a bad unit but better. And I think that would work. I don't think that they need to make it a meta unit if that's what their fear is. But I do think that like Corsair, how they nerfed Corsair by giving it regular damage, they do have a chance to change the mechanic of how it works, or maybe the damage of how much damage it does, and not make it broken, and still have it still be a bad unit, but like a somewhat, like a usable unit, a unit that's not just better as a support card than it is a DPS card, especially with the nerf to Jay's Crackshot. There were Boreas decks that kind of existed for a little bit because of Jay's Crackshot, but now that or the sudden shot Crackshot, but now that Jay is nerfed, like there's not really a Boreas deck anymore, And so I feel like that they can make it better, and it would still be bad, but at the very least, it would be exciting as a new player to get. Will there be changes to the Cultist? I don't know who's asking for this. At the moment, the Cultist is performing very well. He occupies his own niche confidently and is popular among players. No changes are planned. I don't know who's asking for this, but I think that Cultist is very strong. It's not, obviously one of the best cards, and if that is your max legendary that you're using, I'm looking at you, Bristix Gaming, it's not a bad card, and it's just not at the top tier level of cards. And I feel like being not a top tier level of card, those are very specifically reserved for event units, apparently. And that is what this game is now. And so I think that it is still a very high tier card. And just because it's not the best card doesn't mean it's not a good card. Are there plans to change the cooldown of Mari's skill due to the reduction of PvP duration? Mari is the strongest hero in the game at present. There's no plan to change the cooldown. If anything, they made Zeus and Necromancer better because people were using Mari as opposed to legendary units. That was their specific reasoning for buffing legendary, the legendary Necromancer and Zeus. They were saying that, Mari was being overly used, and it being an epic and not a legendary made them feel like they should make the legendary better. Because the other alternative was to nerf Mari in order to make the other ones better. They could have increased the cooldown, and they didn't. And so this is where we are. In general, the current meta seems to us to be as diverse as possible, which is good. The total number of PvP battles has increased in part due to the reduction of their duration. There are units that have a 60% chance of beating toxic decks. There are Sea Dog Necromancer decks that beat others, and still other decks that beat the former but lose to a Sea Dog deck. There was no single deck that is stronger than all the other ones. That's debatable. That's a very strong statement to make. We are actively monitoring the balance of the game and do not plan to change anything in version 24.1. For the immediate future, we are focused on future changes to old events and creating new ones. You have changed the mage robes. Are there any plans to revise other items? Possibly in future major updates, we will continue working on items that are out of balance in one direction or another. Stay tuned. I don't think anybody uses the sturdy staff. I think there were Meteor decks that use that only because Meteor isn't based around attacking. It's based around merging. But I feel like nobody cares about Sturdy Staff because Spear is so actively prevalent. It's so much better than most things. I think that there are people that are trying to use Sword in order to increase base damage and because it does boss damage better. And that might be a response to people using the armor plate that makes you deal less damage to bosses. I think that there is a much better variety of people because people still use Hunter's Jacket. People still use Mage Robes. But I've also seen the aforementioned one that makes you deal less damage to bosses. I've even seen the crit damage. Your crit damage is less. And then Spear, the only deck that really uses Crit Bow, is probably the Cultist deck because of the level 15 talent. There might be others, some other niche Crit Bow people as well. But I think that the amount of non-useless equipment is pretty good right now. I think Growth Tile is overly good. There's no reason to use Magic Amulet. And then there's almost no reason to use Amulet of Weakness unless you're running Toxic. Amulet of Growth is just so overly powered, and I don't know what they could do to Magic Amulet. Maybe if they had Magic Amulet as a damage and mana tile, you get some amount of you do some amount of damage as well as you get some amount of mana, kind of like a mini vampire, based on whether or not you have a legendary version, and that gets better. I could see that happening, but in Magic Amulet, in its current form, it is just so far and above worse, just strictly worse, especially in a scrapper meta. It's just so far and above strictly worse than just having growth tiles. I even tried using a monk deck with equilibrium with a scrapper just so that I could get growth tile stacks. I wouldn't recommend it, but I mean, it was funny. And that's just how good growth tile is. Will Jay's heroic item, the Ring of Random, be changed? We've slightly changed the mechanics of the item. Now you need to place a unit with high damage on the tile, not one with a high attack speed. For now, we are analyzing the changes that have already been implemented, and if necessary, we will apply other ones and announce them to the players. With Jay's tile and most of with the Jay item, you get extra tiles, and that is the main benefit of the heroic items. With a Zeus item, you get an extra tile. With a Necromancer item, you get an extra tile. And with the J item, you get an extra tile. And getting extra tiles, having units that have tiles to begin with, and then giving them extra tiles with their heroic item makes Gadget seem so useless. I think Gadget is still good, but it's very hard for me to confidently say that because they're giving everything else tiles that do other things. Every single J tile is a 40% attack speed boost, as well as activating the crack shot. And the fact that you can have 5 tiles on the board, and I think you can go up to 6 J tiles on the board. Those are basically an automatic gold tile that you would get from a level 20 gadget. The 40% attack speed is the 40% attack speed that you would get off of a gold tile. Gold tiles give you attack strength and crit chance, so that is a factor as well. For anybody who was automatically writing that in the comments, gold tiles do more than just attack speed. But the fact that getting a gold tile is both random, and just a very late game thing. You will have already built up all of where you wanted to place your units. Getting a gold tile was a bonus. When you have J attack speed tiles, you're getting an automatic 40% bonus, and you can set up those tiles and your setup at the beginning of the game, and just know that every single game you will get that. With Gadget, you have to hope that you get it, and you have to hope that it lands on where you've decided to set up. J is just consistency, and in this game you want all the consistency that you can, and that's why a lot of people still run J. Will new visuals be added for other units? I trust that they will. This just feels like, will this unit get talents? I trust that their plan is to make visual units for everything, so that when you click on their picture, every unit is there. Are there any plans to add voice acting and animations to the Jake Paul hero? I'm just going to skip over this question because I trust that Jake Paul's mother is the only person asking this question. When does the next Random League start? Very, very soon on April 25th. So April 25th, we have a date. Save up 500 gems for this event. You will, if you go back to my old Random League videos, I think that the rewards for Random League, all of the rewards that you get for 500 gems is amazing. And the fact that they haven't changed it to a paid thing, an active paid thing, and you can get it free to play, it's the biggest free to play win. Win 10 games, pay 500 gems, get all the rewards. It's basically like getting, I want to say it was 3 or 4 legendaries with the rune keys that they also give you. I think it added to 3 or 4 legendaries, including a pick your own legendary. The rewards are insane, and you only have to win 10 battles and pay 500 gems, which if you save now, you can get free to play. And then they added this, and I didn't even realize what they said here, but it got brought up in my Rush Royale Insider, and I will pause this video after I talk about it to see if he actually updated it. That was the notification that you got in the beginning of this video. We also want to share with you the first spoiler about our new unit. It will join the ranks of the Kingdom of Light. So people in my Discord, or in my Rush Royale Discord, the Rush Royale Insiders that's only available to content creators, they were very smart to point this out, that this is just a zealot in a magic cauldron. They've used this picture before. So we're not really sure what they mean by this is a spoiler about the new unit, unless they're saying that the frog is the new unit. Or maybe that there's a different pot. Maybe there's a different kind of cauldron. I will check, and I will be right back. Nope, I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. The one person that talks to us, the one official person that gives us information from developers, he has no idea. So we'll never know. Maybe it's the frog, or maybe it's the trees in the background, or maybe it's the grass. It might be the grass. Maybe the grass is going to be a new Kingdom of Light unit. It's just going to be grass that you put on the field. I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing to me. And thank you guys for appreciating the fact that I do these very long, just videos about talking. I would have never thought in a million years that people would subscribe to me with my very long videos of just me talking about things. And it's what I love to do, and I'm glad that I found an audience for it, and I'm glad that you guys appreciate it. So, thank you, and I will see you guys